Hello, my name is Roller, and today I'd like to show you how to install and configure a Freebsd desktop inside of Virtualbox. So let's get started. First we'll go to the freebsd.org website and click on Download FreeBSD. Then we'll come down to the latest releases, and we'll choose this top one here, and our architecture is AMD 64, so we'll go ahead and select this one. And then we'll get the disk1.iso. We'll also want to get the checksum so we can verify the integrity of our download. Go ahead and click back, and let's go to the documentation and check out the Freebsd Handbook. So if we come down here to the handbook, we have the minimum hardware requirements, and this will tell us that FreeBSD expects for a desktop system we'd like 2 to 4 gigs of RAM and at least 8 gigs of hard drive space. So keep that in mind. Now let's go and verify our download integrity. On FreeBSD you can do that with the command SHA-512 and then the name of the file you downloaded, and that will give you a file signature. And now we just want to check that that signature matches what's inside the checksum file. And we're going to search the checksum file for disk1. So just make sure that this signature is the same as this one, and you're good to go. That means the download worked. So let's go ahead and now open up Virtualbox. So Virtualbox lets you create virtual machines, and so let's get started. Let's say new. Start typing FreeBSD. You'll notice that it selected the type BSD and the version FreeBSD 64-bit. Go ahead and choose next. It's just reminding me that I already have a machine called FreeBSD, so let's call this one FreeBSD VM0. Let's go with the recommended 2. So that'd be 2 gigs by 2048 megabytes. That's 2 gigs. Let's keep the defaults on the hard drive here. We can go ahead and bump the size up a little bit so that it has room to grow. And click create. Okay, now our VM is ready, but we need to put a disk in there. So let's go to the settings, storage, click on our CD drive, click on the CD icon and choose a virtual file, and here's our disk that we downloaded. So we'll say OK, and now we can boot from it. Let's click start. If you'll notice down here it says right control is the command, so basically if I click inside of here my mouse disappears. If I want to get it back I press right control, and now I can control this machine. So that just allows you to select which machine that you would like to control. So I would like to control my virtual machine, so I'm just going to click inside here. Now press enter to start the install. I'm going to go ahead with the default key map, which is the standard US keyboard. You can test your default key map to make sure it works here, but let's just go ahead and continue. I'm going to type a name for my computer, so I'll do FreeBSD VM0. I'm going to keep the defaults by just pressing enter. Let's also press enter. Let's use up the entire disk that we have prepared. Let's go ahead and use GPT for the partitioning table, since that's the newer partition table format. And finish. And commit. That's going to erase the hard drive. It's just making sure that's what we want to do, which is fine. Now it's going to unpack the distribution files. And also, just feel free at your leisure to scan this documentation. There's a lot in here, and you can learn quite a bit about using FreeBSD by just reading through this documentation, following along. Also, that documentation is available on your local machine as well, and I'll show you in the installer there's a place that you can just install the handbook to your local machine. Now we can set up a root password. So you'll notice when I'm typing my root password, it's not giving me any feedback. That's expected. For security reasons, it doesn't show you how long the password is. But just go ahead and type it anyways, and it'll definitely work. Okay, now we need to set up our internet connection. So let's click our internet. Let's just choose enter here on the network interface. Yes, we want to set up IPv4, and yes, we'll use a DHCP server to do that for us, since Virtualbox has one installed by default for us. No, we're not set up IPv6 today. Go ahead and enter your DNS servers if you have some that you like to use. Otherwise, it'll scan your network and try and find appropriate ones. Okay, let's choose our time zone. So I'm in America, United States. I'm in Colorado, so we use Mountain Time. I'm going to go ahead and skip setting up the time and date, as I'm going to use NTPD to synchronize the time. So I'll just use spacebar to select that, and I would not like SSHD install running by default, so I'm just going to uncheck that with the spacebar, and then use the enter to continue, and we'll just skip past this using enter to continue. And now we can add a user, so let's choose yes. I'll set up a user account for me, which is Roller. I'm going to use the default user ID and group, and then I want to be invited into the wheel and the operator group. The wheel will let us use administrative commands, and the operator will let us do things like restart and shut down the computer from the desktop. We're going to keep the default there. On the shell, we want to use tcsh. We'll do the defaults for the permissions of our home directory as well. We don't want an empty or random password, so we'll just set our own password here. And we'll just confirm that that's our right password, typing it twice. No, you don't want to lock out your account. And if everything else is okay, type yes. And no, we don't need another user at this time. Okay, so here's where you get the handbook. Just choose the handbook. English is selected by default, so I'm just going to choose enter. Okay, let's do exit. And we want to make some modifications because Virtualbox has the CD still in. Basically the install is done, but since Virtualbox still has the CD in the drive, we would like to take that out. So if we type init 0, that'll shut the machine down. So with the machine shut down, we can go in to the machine here, go to settings, go back to storage, click on our CD drive, click the icon, and remove the disk from the CD drive. Now it's no longer going to run the installer when we start. So we'll say OK here, and now we can just start it up normal from our new FreeBSD installation off the hard drive. and then click in here to capture our mouse again. And you can skip this by pressing enter. Okay, now we're going to log in as root to do some configuration. First thing we want to install, since we're using Virtualbox, we're going to install these Virtualbox guest editions, just to give us some support later when we install the Virtualbox graphics. So I'm typing package install -y here. If I don't put the y, then it'll show me that it's going to download something and it's going to ask me, do you want to do this? So yes. If you don't want to have to wait and type yes, then just do the -y in your command and it'll just flow right through and install. Okay, you'll notice it's asking us to load the kernel module and the service, so you can use sysrc to do that for you. So we'll just say we'll just type in those two commands that it's telling us. And now those are both, if we check our rc.conf file, you'll see that those two were automatically added to the end of the file with that sysrc command. Okay, next we want to go ahead and set up our video card driver and Xorg. So first we'll install Xorg. So these Xorg is one necessary component of getting a desktop up and running, and then to get the modern desktop you want to use something like Lumina on top of Xorg to give you that desktop environment to boot into. Xorg does come with a default X environment, but it is pretty basic, and I'll show that one to you to give you an idea of how far X has come over the years. It's definitely, there's definitely the need for something like Lumina if you want to have a more modern desktop environment to work in. Okay, so now we can go ahead and I'll show you what X looks like by default by typing start X. It's basically this crummy little environment here that's got a little clock. So we don't want this, so we can leave by just typing exit. To set up a more robust environment, we want to first, let's go to the loader, and we'll just add in kern vty equals vt. And so the editor vi, if you want to start typing, you need to push I, and then it'll let you start typing. And then escape will bring you back to this visual mode. To save and quit, you can do 2 capital Z's, so Shift Z Z. You can also do, I'll show you another way to exit next time we open up the editor. So let's just double check that works. So we'll just cat bootloader.conf, and there we go, our command was saved. So now let's go ahead and create our graphics card file. Which we'll put inside of here. And we'll say .conf because it's a configuration file. Now push I to start typing. And then we want a new section for our device. The identifier for our device is card 0. And the driver is VBox video. We'll end section. So we'll push escape, and this is the other way to quit. You can do a colon, write, and quit, and that'll write the file and then quit VI. Okay, just to make sure that worked, let's cat the file. Except it's in user local, so we'll do user local. Just do tab to autocomplete there. Okay, so that looks good. Next, we're going to want to enable Dbus, so let's do sysrc Dbus Enable. So yep, there we go. Then we want to create ourselves a unique ID for this computer, so we'll just do Dbus UUID gen. And we want to send the output of that command. So if you just type by itself, you can see it just creates an ID every time you run it. So we want to, you can press up to go to previous commands, and we want to actually save that to a machine ID file. So that caret will take the output and write it to a file. So if we check what our machine ID is, now you can see that it's definitely just written out a new one there to that file. Okay, so let's go ahead and install sudo to give us a command to make our regular user able to use root privileges. So in order to do that, our user was added to the wheel group, so let's go ahead and edit the configuration file to allow people in the wheel group to use this command. So if you just do a / you can type wheel, press enter, and it'll search for the wheel in the file. And then we just want to uncomment. So to uncomment, you just push J to go down, 0 to go to the beginning of the line, and X twice to delete those 2 characters. And then now you can just do 2 capital Z's, and that'll save the file. Okay. Next, we'd like to just reboot the machine. So you can either just type reboot, or you can type init 6. Okay, let's log in as a regular user. And first thing I want to do is set up my shell. So let's just do vi.tcshrc, and now we can start creating a shell configuration file. So I like to use some color, so if you want your shell to look like mine, go ahead and follow these commands. I pushed I to start typing, and then I'm going to set red, okay. Now I'm going to press escape, and I want to copy this line because the next two colors are almost the same. So just do YY to copy, and then P again, and now you've got two copies. And we can go and we can delete that word and put in yellow. And yellow is 33. So I go over the 1 and I just push R because I want to replace the 1, and then I push 3 to replace it with a 3. And then down here, I want to actually replace this with a 0 and push X on top of this one to delete it. And instead of red, I want no color here. Okay, so those are just a few variables that I've set up, which I will use below. So if you press, if you want to insert some text on a new line, you can just press O. So it'll let me start typing below, and then I say if prompt, then set prompt equal to, and here's how I like mine set up. So I'll use red. Then I want the name of my user. Then I want to add the name of my machine. And then I want the, in yellow, I want the history. And then we'll just end if there. So, I want to be able to save history that I have. So I'll just type set history equal, and I want the lines of history to be a lot so that I can remember everything I've ever done. So I'll just do 8 nines there. Hopefully that's enough. Okay, and then we'll do set hist file, and the tilde is our home directory, and we want the hist file to be tcsh history. Then a few commands that you might like are autolist, rmstar, no clobber. No clobber is basically going to make it so, you know, we were using that caret command to do the dbus ID and put it in the machine ID file. This will just tell you, it won't let you overwrite files in case that's not what you meant to do, because when you're doing the caret, if you do 2 of them, it'll just write to the end of a file. So no clobber will protect you from accidentally deleting a file. So that's a good one to have. If you want to set aliases, just type the word alias, and then you can create an alias. So I want an alias, when I push L twice, I want it to actually type ls-la for me. so I don't have to type that out every time. So that's just an example of an alias. So I'm going to save this file, and we'll move on. Now I want to install Lumina for my desktop environment. So I'm going to use sudo. Instead of being logged in as root, I can install things with sudo now. So package install Lumina. Now it's going to tell me, give me that lecture there and warn me that I'm about to use a sudo command. It's fine, just type your password. So you'll remember that when we type start X, it launched that little X session. We can actually change the start X command so that it launches Lumina instead. Using the X init rc file, which tells X what to do when it starts. So when this is done installing, we'll go ahead and edit that file. And we'll just tell it that we want it to start Lumina desktop. So I'll just do vi.xinit.rc, push I for insert, and we'll just say execute start Lumina desktop, and that'll go ahead and do that for us. So now when we type start X, Lumina will start. So you can go ahead and resize and move that if you want to. I'm just going to remove this. So, if you come down and click on the menu here, you have applications, which you can start by clicking on them. I want to get a different terminal emulator than this one, so I'm going to type sudo package install Sakura. Also, just to show you, you can install 2 packages at the same time. I want to also get a little icon down here to change the volume. So there's one called PC Mixer. So that'll go ahead and install both those for us, just by separating them with the space. Great, so now we can come down here to the menu, go to Browse Applications, and now we've got Sakura. So if I right click on this and choose Add to Quick Launch, I get a little button down here to launch it. So yeah, it's just a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so to start PC Mixer, you type PC mixer, and then put this ampersand at the end, or the and, and it will basically run that in the background. So I push enter there, now it's running in the background, but you'll notice that it spit out some stuff on my shell. So to make that stuff go away, I can just type clear, or I can just type Control L as a shortcut. So I'm just going to do that, Control L. It clears up my screen there, but you'll notice now I've got a little volume here. Okay, to make this start every time you start Lumina, just come right click, go to Preferences, All Desktop Settings, and Auto Start. In Auto Start you can do binary, and just type PC Mixer, open, and then save. And that'll start every time now. If you go back to settings, you can come down here to general options, and we can also do some configuration on the clock. So if you want to set it up how I do, I usually set mine up like this, with hour, minute, second, and then the AM, PM. And I also like numlock enabled, so I'll just do that. And save. And there you go, changed it up a little bit. Now we can install a few more things. So I like a web browser, so let's do package install Firefox. I also want to show you what, there's a different command. Instead of just VI, there's one called Vim. And then I'll show you that you can get Office software with LibreOffice. And just to show you, if you're not sure what software is available, you can just type package search Office or whatever keyword you want, and it'll search through the index here, and you can, scan through and see what's going on here. So when I type package install LibreOffice, it's getting LibreOffice 602. You don't have to type the version at the end, you can just type the name, but you can see it's just a fully integrated Office productivity suite. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and close this tab and wait for this one to finish. Another thing, when we installed, let me show you. So when we installed the handbook from the installer, it should have put some files in user, local, share, doc, Freebsd. So let's see what's in there. And see, there's a handbook in there. So you'll notice the handbook has all these different pages here, which is great. So if you see that they're all HTML pages, we can open these with Firefox. So I'll show you how to do that once we get Firefox up and running. So if you'll notice here, I was using ls to see first what was in this directory and then what was in this directory. There's another command that'll help you out while you're typing. So if I wanted to open up the file, I type Firefox and then user, local, share, doc, free. So if I want to see what was in the doc folder, I could actually just type Control D, and it'll show me, without messing up my command, it'll just show me real quick what's in here. So I can be like, oh, okay, Freebsd. And then it'll push Control D again, it'll show me what's in there. Handbook. Then I'll just open index.html. There you go. So now we have the handbook opened up in Firefox. And this is a local handbook, so we don't have to have internet connection to read this one, which is great. So it's available for you anytime. Okay. So next we can go double check that our Office installer works. So we come down here, and look, we have an Office. we've got, well, first let's save Firefox to the quick launch, but then we can open up a writer. So let's see what it's like to create a document in LibreOffice. And here you go. Now you can start writing. And then the other command we installed was Vim. So if you just type Vim, you can see that it's VI improved. And then here's some help text to tell you a little bit about it. Basically though, we can just do Q to quit. You do colon and then Q to quit. If you type Vim Tutor, it'll give you a tutor and it'll teach you about Vim. It'll open this up so you can kind of go through and see what's going on here. If you come to the bottom of the tutor file here, which it'll teach you how to do in this, you'll see that there's this right here. It's telling you that there's an example vimrc file and you can actually use it. So let's go ahead and install the example vimrc file so that we have one to work with. So basically we will just want to make a file called, we'll want to edit a file called vimrc, and then once we're in the vimrc, we just want to do this vim runtime vimrc example.vim. So we'll go ahead and copy that, and then when we come in here, we can do :read, and we just want to paste in what we just typed. So we want to read. I did paste by Control-Shift-V, and that'll read in the file here. And then we can just escape, Shift 2 Z's, and next time we run Vim, you can see it's just now we have a vimrc file. It's got a couple changes there. So there, this is where you can start setting up different things that you want to do with your Vim. What I like to do is make a directory called Vim temp, and then I want to go into my vimrc file and come to the bottom, and I like to use a different color scheme. So I'll say my color scheme will be slate, and then I want the Vim makes backup files. So I'd rather those backup files not be in the same directory as the file I'm editing. I'd rather them go into this Vim temp directory. So that's what this command will tell it to do. Okay. Let's go ahead and save. And now next time I open up my vimrc file, you'll notice that the color is just a little bit different. Yeah, and there's just basically how you make your own Vim file, and you can start making changes to it and learning a little bit about it. So definitely check out Vim Tutor to learn some more. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. And to shut down your computer, since you're the operator, you can come to Leave, Power Off, and it'll turn off. One last thing, since we've done all this work and set up our Virtualbox, we can take a snapshot. So if we just click Take here and give it a name, so and click OK, that will save a snapshot, and at any point if we feel like we need to go back to when it was set up properly, we can just come here to the snapshots, which should be available in the Snapshots tab here. Usually here you'll see that there's details about a machine. Most of the time this is the default screen. So the snapshots, you would just come here to Snapshots, and then you click Set Properly, Restore, and it'll turn the machine back to where it was when you set it up how it is now. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.